Welcome to ISO 31000 Risk Management Implementation Step by Step. In the next 15 minutes, we'll walk through the principles, framework, and process of ISO 31000:2018. You'll see how organizations build an enterprise risk management system that is integrated, structured, and tailored to their context. This is a practical overview distilled from the full course. Let's get started. Let's start with the structure. ISO 31000 is built on three interconnected components: principles that guide risk management, a framework that integrates it into the organization, and a process that applies it to specific decisions. Before we explore the standard, here are the foundational concepts that ISO 31000 is built on. ISO 31000 defines risk as the effect of uncertainty on objectives. Critically, risk can be positive or negative. This broader definition means risk management is not just about preventing bad outcomes. It is also about recognizing and pursuing opportunities. The risk management framework provides the foundations and organizational arrangements for embedding risk management into all activities. It covers leadership, integration, design, implementation, evaluation, and improvement. The risk management process is the systematic application of policies and practices to communication, scope definition, risk assessment, which includes identification, analysis, and evaluation, risk treatment, monitoring, and recording. Risk criteria are the benchmarks against which risk significance is evaluated. They reflect the organization's values, objectives, and risk appetite, and must be defined before risk assessment begins to ensure consistent and objective evaluation. ISO 31000 defines 8 principles that effective risk management must embody. First, risk management must be integrated into all organizational activities and decision-making. It is not a standalone function or a separate department. It must be part of governance, strategy, planning, and operations. Second, risk management must be structured and comprehensive. A consistent, systematic approach produces results that are comparable, reliable, and actionable across the entire organization. Third, risk management must be customized. Every organization has a unique external and internal context, risk profile, and set of objectives. The approach must be tailored, not copied from a template. Fourth, risk management must be inclusive, bringing in stakeholder perspectives, dynamic, adapting as conditions change, and based on the best available information, even when that information is imperfect. The framework is what makes risk management part of the organization's DNA. It covers leadership, design, implementation, evaluation, and improvement. The ISO 31000 framework follows a cycle of leadership, integration, design, implementation, evaluation, and improvement. Leadership and commitment are the foundation. Top management must set the tone, foster a risk-aware culture, allocate adequate resources, and establish clear accountability for risk management at every level of the organization. Integration means embedding risk management into governance, strategy, and operations. Design involves understanding the organizational context, defining the risk management policy, assigning roles and responsibilities, and establishing communication channels. Implementation puts the framework into action across all relevant activities. Evaluation monitors its effectiveness through performance measurement, periodic reviews, and assessment of whether the framework is achieving its intended outcomes. Improvement closes the cycle. The framework must adapt to changes in the external and internal context, apply lessons learned from risk events, and continually refine its approaches to increase maturity and effectiveness. The process is where risk management becomes practical. ISO 31000 defines a 6-step process that applies to any decision, project, or activity. Here is the complete risk management process as defined by ISO 31000. Communication and consultation run throughout the entire process. Engage stakeholders to gather diverse perspectives, share risk information, build understanding, and ensure that risk management decisions reflect the needs and concerns of all affected parties. Define the scope, context, and criteria before assessing risks. Understand the external and internal environment, clarify objectives, set risk criteria that reflect organizational values and risk appetite, and establish the boundaries of the assessment. Risk assessment is the core analytical step. It includes risk identification to find and describe risks, risk analysis to understand their nature, likelihood, and consequences, and risk evaluation to compare results against criteria and prioritize treatment. Risk treatment selects and implements options to address risks. Options include avoiding the risk, taking or increasing the risk to pursue opportunity, removing the source, changing likelihood or consequences, sharing the risk, or retaining it with informed acceptance. ISO 31000 defines 6 treatment options that can be applied individually or in combination. Avoid the risk when it exceeds your risk appetite and cannot be adequately mitigated. For example, deciding not to enter a market where regulatory, legal, or political risks are unacceptable for the organization. Reduce the risk when you can lower its likelihood or impact through controls. This is the most common treatment. For example, implementing security controls, process improvements, or redundancy to reduce the probability or impact of adverse events. Share the risk when transferring part of it is more efficient than full retention. This includes purchasing insurance, entering joint ventures, or outsourcing specific activities to specialized providers who can manage the risk more effectively. Accept the risk when it falls within your risk appetite and the cost of treatment exceeds the potential impact. This must be a conscious, documented decision with clear ownership and monitoring criteria. Let's close with the most important lessons from ISO 31000 implementation. First, ISO 31000 provides a universal risk management framework built on 3 pillars: principles, framework, and process. It applies to any organization regardless of size, sector, or risk profile. Second, risk management must be integrated into governance, strategy, and daily operations. It is not a separate department or periodic exercise. The standard demands that risk thinking becomes part of how the organization makes every decision. Third, risk includes both threats and opportunities. ISO 31000's broader definition of risk as the effect of uncertainty on objectives means risk management is equally about pursuing upside potential and protecting against downside impact. And fourth, start with leadership commitment. Customize the approach to your organizational context and improve continuously. A mature risk management system evolves with the organization and its environment. That wraps up our overview of ISO 31000. In the full Udemy course, you'll get detailed lessons on all 8 principles, the complete framework design, the 6-step risk process, risk assessment techniques, treatment strategies, and real examples from Stellar Tech Solutions. Use the course to build your enterprise risk management system with confidence. Thank you for watching. If this overview was useful, subscribe for more risk management, governance, and compliance content. See you in the course.